Oof, that was a tough watch, Liverpool versus Chelsea. Bit of a stinker of a game, a lot of people saying, but also there are a lot of things that Liverpool fans probably should be grateful for, and one of them is Alisson. We can talk a little bit more about that in a second, but if you've not already hit subscribe, hit it down there, and if you already have, thanks a lot for subscribing. We're on to a journey for the 100k. 58. We only made 58 the other day, so thanks a lot for subscribing. Let's talk a little bit about Liverpool because, well, I mean, that game was just turgid. It was kind of a boring game anyway. You could tell Liverpool were coming up against a force who really were just grateful that they were on some sort of reform from Graham Potter. And at the same time, I think Chelsea, the fact that they were managed by someone like Bruno probably means they were a variant of whatever Graham Potter was going to do anyway. And we know that what Graham Potter was onto is, well, some of the players liked it, some of the players didn't. Anyway, what Chelsea had going on was basically interim manager levels of management. And even then, they were a better team than Liverpool this evening. I mean, I don't even think that's unfair to say. It's not one of those things where it was like close and I'm having to do the eye test. Watching Liverpool this evening, you could see how many things were off. And I want to talk about the short term and then the long term. Let's talk short term first, right? Short term at Liverpool, we know we can see how many players either have lost a level of investment, have lost a level of confidence, or have lost a level of understanding of what it is that Liverpool are trying to achieve, meaning that there is less investment in the overall cause. And actually, you can kind of just see the disparate nature of what is going out on the pitch right now. I'm watching and I'm like, okay, what's the press scheme here? Who's triggering it? Where is it going? Why are they able to bypass it so easily? And when they do bypass it, why are people just sort of slowly jogging away as if it doesn't really matter? It's really unusual to watch, especially as a Liverpool fan. You're thinking, okay, you've crossed the line. Okay, you've crossed the line there in your press. You're meant to. People just aren't doing anything about it whilst out on the pitch. And that is the really frustrating thing. You are watching and thinking, how is it that I have a good idea of what I think I would do if I was a player, and yet the players out on that pitch don't seem to have much cohesion. On top of that, you can see that players are frustrated. You can see there was like a chest-knocking moment between Jordan Henderson and Alisson when Alisson said, I gave you a shout. Henderson said, no, you didn't. And the frustration went on from there. There were plenty of players dropped this evening, and I'd imagine there was a mixture of, if things going well, Klopp says that's rotation. If things going badly, we think that people have been dropped. Maybe a little harsh on Trent, but I suppose in the last game, there was a lot of torment at that kind of right back, left wing position where Mudryk and lots of other people basically tore Liverpool apart. So on top of that, let's just say this. I get when Van Dijk is not in the squad because he's ill. I get when Salah doesn't start because we should have confidence in other players like Jota or whoever it is who starts on that right-hand side. And I get why Trent isn't in the team because you should be able to rotate it right back. And Joe Gomez is very serviceable, even though he's not necessarily where Liverpool are going in the long run. The real issue with that is you can see when the starting 11 isn't the maximised 11, things are not good. Liverpool aren't able to operate to their absolute max. Liverpool aren't able to execute in the way that they need to execute. And they don't seem to have relationships to the degree where they know where the other one is going to go. I saw a pass from Joe Gomez to Jota. Jota's going inside. Joe Gomez is going outside. It seems as if Henderson is trying to cover quite a few different areas, but let's be honest at this point, like Jordan Henderson has a place in this squad. It's just not starting every game, every week. It's because the intensity for Liverpool and probably the application of that intensity just is not there. And it's kind of gutting to say that because genuinely means the end of an era at Liverpool. The problem is, right, if this was managed kind of transition or even managed decline in some way, which in recent years it seems to have been now, you would be able to understand it. You'd almost be able to rationalize a lot of this, right? You'd be able to say, hey, I can see Jordan Henderson in this team for another X amount of time, playing X amount of games. But because things are so extreme, because Liverpool, the probability is that Liverpool will not be in the Champions League next season, there are going to have to be some difficult decisions made at Liverpool. And I get it. Like, some people are going to say, hey, that's FSG propaganda. What you're saying here is just stuff that people say in the press because FSG don't want to spend. Even if Liverpool spend and buy 4 players in the summer, I still have doubts that there is enough squad turnover there that Liverpool will be moving on to be title challengers or even be able to keep up with some other people spending over the summer. It's not so much that I doubt Liverpool or some of their targets, it's that I doubt they can keep up with other people at this point. That is the frustration. And you can kind of see that frustration boiling over. There are people who are clearly invested in the project and they clearly want to win for Liverpool, right? Milner's sitting on the sidelines doing this and looking angry. Henderson is getting in people's faces. Trent was really frustrated in the last game, just running around wherever he needed to, kind of left huge holes, but you could see his frustration. And there are multiple members. The comments, all these kind of things are indicative of a team who don't quite know where they're going right now. How are you meant to analyze that? Like, that, honestly, I watched so much analysis of the last game. I watched the game like 2 times back, and I was like, I'm still not sure why Liverpool played in certain way. I'm not sure why the defense rolled over in the way that it did. I'm not sure why people were caught so badly out of position time after time after time. You have to look at the coaches. You have to look at Klopp, who is already talking about next season, who's already talking about the time that he's bought because of, and was very frank in his last press conference saying that he felt he bought time or was banking on that time that he had from before. But there are some difficult decisions to be made ahead in this Liverpool team right now, and it makes it, it's hard to analyse because you want to give players opportunities. You know, no one is saying that Virgil van Dijk is at the very peak of his career. No one is saying that Henderson is at the very peak of his career. No one is saying that anyone is peaking right now in this Liverpool team. But at the same time, you also don't want to damn people. You don't want to say, well, that guy doesn't deserve to be in the team anymore. That guy doesn't deserve to be in the team anymore. Because first of all, who am I to analyse that? I'm trying to give you a sense of perspective on the side. I'm trying to give myself a sense of perspective on that. But to damn people and say, well, that guy doesn't deserve to play for our team, seems a little self-righteous. And believe me, I'm good at that. So when I'm saying this, what I'm really saying is I struggle to see where Liverpool turn over here. I can see where I would identify, but I feel some of it is harsh. I feel Virgil van Dijk needs a partner or Konate needs a partner. It has to be one or the other. And I don't know how much longer it can be Konate and Van Dijk. And then Matip and Gomez, I'm confused if we just stick with that back four, but I wonder if they're not the priority. Fullbacks, Tsimikas is a good player, but does he have the weight to be in the Premier League? He was knocked off the ball so many times tonight. If he's a rotational player, where frankly I think he would start elsewhere, is the investment there? Is the investment in the project there? I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's not professional. I'm saying in order to work with Jurgen Klopp's system, there has to be a level of investment. There has to be a level of belief within the squad. And I'm trying to work out how to generate that belief, how to push further. And that kind of leads me into the long term, right? Because in the long term, who can see Curtis Jones staying at the club? Who can see Jordan Henderson and Milner starting this many games they have this season? Who can see us keeping Thiago if Thiago is out for this extended stretch of time? Clearly, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita are on their way. When Firmino goes, is it Hakpo who comes in for him? Is it Nunez through the middle? Are we buying someone else in the summer? Is it Luis Diaz who pushes someone else inside? Like, what I'm saying is I think there is probably a massive overhaul coming, and I'm not saying I don't think Klopp is capable of that. There is a shared, apparently, coaching role between Pep Lingers and one other. The players at the moment don't seem fully invested in that system. How do we get players invested in that system? Do players watch this and think, okay, well, a midfielder's watching this and thinking, hey, I could get in there. And at the same time, there are many people saying this Liverpool system hasn't changed. They're just trying to play the same. That's not true. They're not trying to play the same thing. There is rotation, there is changes, and there is fluidity. Obviously, they always had a 4-4-2 when out of possession and were more like 4-3-3 in possession. But the shape has changed, the movement of the ball has changed, and you can see the players almost actively struggling with that because, and I should almost say it this way, the coaching is struggling to tell the players how to play that. Liverpool playing a team tonight who was not invested in Graham Potter, who is not invested in what's going on now, who is on a new manager bounce possibly at best, but is really in a system where they aren't 100% happy, they don't feel 100% comfortable. And we didn't really take it to Chelsea. We had 3 to 5 shots this evening. Sure, you can statistically say there were more, but there really weren't. And frankly, the reason that this game finished 0-0 was because of Chelsea's poor finishing. They put Liverpool to the sword time after time. I know that Kai Havertz had his handball, but there were plenty of other opportunities. Kovacic was through multiple times. Havertz was through multiple times. João Felix was a handful. I didn't see one Liverpool player being a handful of the level that they needed to be. And here's how it impacts the very long term. Without Liverpool in the Champions League, without Liverpool able to A, financially reinvest, but B, play in a competition that a lot of players want to be in, how many players think, I can be here for the long term. I can be invested in this project beyond this season. If I was Alisson, I would be frustrated. I'd be thinking, how am I bailing these guys out time after time after time? How is it that I have one defender possibly in front of me that is working as part of a unit and everyone else is just moving around? How is it that Fabinho looks so static in a game? Because there were games earlier this season where I saw him moving. There were games earlier this season where I was like, hey, he's always the option. He's always offering width or a centre to the width. He's always there. How is it that I'm not seeing that right now? I love that guy for what he's done for Liverpool, but I have to question these things. It's not about commitment. It's not about any of these things. For him, it's genuinely about where is the level of intensity? Is it down to fitness? Have Liverpool not managed the squad fitness properly, and so players are just dipping way too quickly? Are we out of a cycle here? Are we going to dip back into a cycle next season? Is it that Liverpool are saying, hey, there are too many players on the down here. Let's take this season to recuperate, retool, and the off season we reinvest. Apparently Klopp is going to be given big funds. I'll believe it when I see it. Jordan Henderson's still a fantastic captain of the club, but playing him, week out, 2 times a week, it's not feasible to ask his body to do that at this point. He's a fantastic player. He's a fantastic custodian for the club. I love him as a player, but what am I meant to say at this point? I don't want him to leave, but at the same time, I don't think that it's fair to ask a lot of these players to play these amount of minutes. So tell me, are you guys as frustrated? Do you guys feel that Klopp can turn this around? I want to give him the opportunity. I do believe there is an element where he can do that. I think if we get beyond this season, there is a chance to wipe that slate clean, to change things, to make things a bit different. But at the same time, I guess when you're in the moment, what I want to say is when you're in the moment, like that season where we dipped, like that season where there were so many injuries, when we were trying to change things, when you're in it, you go, oh, this is the end. And the season after, it was amazing. But after a 4-1, a 0-0 away to Chelsea, frankly, it's not enough points to get into the top 4. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. This is not a good enough standard for Liverpool. But at the same time, we have to find explanations rather than damning individuals and going, hey, this guy's individually responsible. I think Liverpool did lack this evening. I think even Jordan Henderson said that in his post-match press conference. He said, we lacked a little bit of that. You know, the players are acknowledging it. Klopp is acknowledging it. Have the team just given up on this season? Have the team just decided, yeah, not our season. Write it off, done. Can you even do that? Can that be a pervasive culture at Liverpool Football Club? In my humble opinion, no. It slips below the standards. But as supporters, I guess our support is to say, hey, we support you, but we need to see a goal here. Not even a goal on the pitch here. We need to see an end result. What is it we're working towards here? And Jurgen seems to be hinting at things. Players seem to be hinting at things. But again, it's the combination of ownership and manager, which players leave, which players stay. If I was certain players who are performing to a good level, your Salahs, your Alissons, certain midfielders, I would be looking at that and thinking, can I rely on you guys to provide Champions League football and good players around me? I'll be interested to know what you guys think. There are 2 things I just want to cover in this, all right? Very quickly. One is, I think, when you're in the moment as a team, it's probably difficult to see where this ends. It is important that Liverpool do stick together in this time. It's important to see the players that stick together and the players that aren't so invested. And that must be difficult when there are certain players that know they're on the way out. Secondly, it's important not to go to cliche. It's important not to go to, we just keep pushing. Or that will get people through, but you can see the team are currently confused. They're just sort of saying platitudes and truisms at this point. And that doesn't strike me as something that is speaking from the heart. It strikes me as a team that are slightly confused, slightly don't really know what their identity is right now, and are struggling with that identity. They don't look confident when speaking. They do look angry with the results. They're shaking their head when they're out on the pitch. There is infighting out in the field, maybe. I think that's something that was always the case. So, but when it's not going well, you say, oh, that's fighting. When it's going well, you say that's, good attitude. I'd encourage them to be critical of each other. But mentality can shift so quickly. And I'm going to be really interested to see how they shift it in this off-season. Because it's going to take quite a shift. And the thing that looms over Liverpool at this point is there have been some really good results this season, like really good. But they've lost energy very quickly. They've been very on-off. And that on-off nature is something that you don't want hanging over you, because it's great you can switch it on. But what if you don't know where the switch is later? What if you don't really know how you switched it on? Because there are so many moving parts as to the little issues that are adding up for Liverpool, and all these little issues, all these little cogs aren't fitting together. Trying to work out why. It's a frustrating one because you get hope up, but at the same time, I'm not quite sure what I thought we'd get from these 3 games in the first place. So I'm not quite sure if we ever thought we'd get into the top 4 based on getting 1 point from 2 and possibly 2 points from 3. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the one. Much love.